My name is Jose Franco. I am the assistant varsity baseball coach at Morris High School in the Bronx. This year I'm working with the pitchers. Our pitching philosophy at Morris is pretty simple. What we do is we try to pitch to contact. Pretty much, give you an example. Let's say if you were able to get out of an inning by striking out three batters and nine pitches. We would take that, but we would rather prefer you to get out that inning by getting three ground ball outs. So the pitchers use three pitches. The best situation that can happen to us following that philosophy, it's an ideal. It's not something that is probable, but is that if you play a 7-inning game and your pitcher can only go through the 7-inning game by throwing 21 pitches. 7 times 3 is 21. So that's pretty much our philosophy. That's what we're striving towards. That's our goal. We want to throw as less pitches as possible. We want to pitch to contact and get the fielders in the game, stay in the game, and that's pretty much our goal. The next thing I want to cover is pitching mechanics. This is something that I've been having conversations with the guys on the team all throughout, and I wanted to touch on that. When it comes to pitching, pretty much it's 6 steps in your pitching delivery. The first step is your setup. Your setup is when you first go on the mound. You're on the mound, and what you want to do is you want to relax. You want to relax. You want to visualize yourself throwing a strike at the location. You want a good target. That's why it's important for your catcher to give you a good target. Once you have your target and you visualize yourself throwing the strike, you go to the next step, which is this drop step. The drop step is when you just go, you turn slightly, and you go into the pitcher's mound. There's a lot of people have this idea that when they go into the drop step, they have to kick back and do all this herky-jerky stuff. The most important thing in your drop step is that your back foot, where you create your leverage, lands parallel with the mound. So you're going to create an 11, and you want your back foot to always land in the same way. So it's going to look like an 11 with your mound, the mound and your foot. You don't want your foot landing slightly pointing the mound or slightly pointing home plate, because what happens is that opens you up. It doesn't allow you to keep your hip closed. So with the drop step, again, we go into the setup, and the setup we catch our breath, we visualize where we're throwing the strike, we know what pitch we're throwing, we see who the strike is. We go, we take a small step, we line up with the mound, our back foot, create the 11, and then the next step is the leg kick. One of the things that happens with the leg kick is that many people think if they kick real high, they'll be able to throw. Most important part with the leg kick is for you to keep your balance. What I mean by balance is that you want to pick up your leg, but you want to keep your shoulders straight. Your shoulders and your hips straight. You want that straight, and that's how you keep your balance. If you kick too high, you might go a little back, and that'll take away from your balance. So you have this. The first step is your setup. The second step, you go into your drop step. Then it's your leg kick, right? And then you want to come up, and you want to have your balance. Now, just as important as your balance is where your arm slot is. Whenever you're pitching and you're releasing the ball, the better pitchers, what they do is they constantly release the ball in the same place, whether they're throwing a fastball, a changeup, a slider. When it's leaving their hand, it's like in this L position with this much separation from the head. So what happens is the guys batting up, that's what they see. They can't tell the difference. If you start putting it in different arm slots, your better hitter can pick that up. If you throw your curveball at a different arm slot, your changeup at a different arm slot, if you're getting tired or you start trying to go sidearm when you normally don't, they'll pick that up. So what you want to do is you want to come back, again back to the setup. You visualize, you see where the the pitch is going to be. You see the location. You know where you're going. You already visualize the pitch. The drop step, you go slow. You come down. You come. Your kick. You want your kick. You want to stay balanced. Then now it's the next part, which is called the power position. What the power position is, it's how you generate your power. And what I try to teach my kids is for them to stay tall. What I mean by staying tall is you don't want your back foot, your plant foot, to bend in. You don't want to get much of a dip. There's some kids that do that, and it's something that they have to practice and work at. If that's the only way they know how to pitch, we'll take it. But ideally, what you want is you want their legs straight up. The reason for that is the same reason why pitchers that are taller usually get drafted at higher selections. Because if you're taller, you can create the effect of throwing from a higher plane. So another thing that you do at the power position, you visualize yourself like if you were throwing down the hill. Because this is the trajectory you want on the ball. You want the ball going down. So if you bend your leg a little, if you bring your leg a little down, instead of the ball coming like this, when you're bending your leg, the ball's going to come like this. And it gives the hitter more of a chance to hit the ball, because it's a lot different than when the ball is sailing down like this. So that's one thing. Another thing you want to do when you're in the power position is you want to maintain your hips closed. So we go where we're at the leg kick, and when you're here, you try to keep your hip closed as long as possible. So when you get to the point that you're going to throw the ball, now here's the time to throw the ball. What you want to do with your opposite hand is you want to drive the elbow down. You want to drive it down as much as you can to create torque on your waist. That's what you want to do. You want to drive your elbow down as much as you can to create torque, and then you finish. And that's the last thing. The last thing in pitching is the finish. A lot of times kids tell me, "Coach, how should I land? Should I land like this? Should I be defensive? What is it that I have to do to land the best way?" What you don't want to do is you don't want to sacrifice your mechanics worrying about how you land. My rule of thumb is if you take care of the first 5 parts, the finish or the landing will take care of itself. So if you do your setup, if you do your drop step, you take care of your leg kick, and you go through the power position, you're going to land in a good place. So to wrap everything up, we'll go through the whole windup. First you go into your setup. You're looking, you look at your sign, you get your sign, you know your location. Now you visualize yourself throwing that pitch like you've thrown it before. Now you know. And take a deep breath. You start. You do the drop step. This is when your foot has to be parallel with the mound. Now once your foot is parallel with the mound, you start bringing the ball out your glove and you start your kick. You start the kick. Here comes the kick. You want the kick. When you're doing your kick, the key is to be balanced. You want to keep your hips closed and you want to be balanced. You don't want your shoulders falling back. You want to be balanced. You want to be straight up, and you want your back leg as straight as possible. You want to visualize like if you're throwing from on top of the hill and you want to be throwing it down in this trajectory. We try to stay away from dipping our knee, because what happens is instead of throwing in this trajectory, we're going to be throwing at more of a plane, so the hitter will get a better look to see how the ball is coming. Once you have the leg kick and you go past that, now that the leg kick is going to come around, you go into your power position. And what you want to do is you want to have your arm slot all ready to go, but you want your opposite hand, you want that elbow pushing down, and you want to generate as much torque as possible. Then the finish, if you take care of all the other steps, the finish will take care of itself.